everybody, this is Pam with Jesusjunkjournals, and I am here working with Debbie Wallbank and Diane Mara on this project. It's called Exploring Joy, and they have invited me to do a page for you and a verse, and so I'm going to do Matthew 25:21, and I will be right back in just a second. Hi everybody, I'm Pam with Jesusjunkjournals, and Diane and Debbie invited me to participate in this joy project, and so I'm going to show you the finished, what we're going to do today, because I'm going to talk a little bit first, but I wanted to show you. So this is, it says, with obedience comes, and then when you open it up, there's a key to open the lock. When you flip it up, it says joy. And so this is the project for today that I'll be showing you later. But before we do that, I wanted to cover the verse that's for today, and it's Matthew 25:21. And in ESV, it says, his master said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. And this verse comes from the parable of the talents, where Jesus teaches about stewardship, faithfulness, and eternal reward. And so Debbie has given us some questions to answer. And on one, she says, what are the two qualities that the master commends in the servant? Well, he commends that he's good, and he calls out that he's faithful. And what two rewards does the servant receive for his faithfulness? Well, he's being set over much, and he's also told that he may enter into the joy of the master. Why does the master share these things with his servant? Because he's been obedient. So those are that's the framework for this verse. And then number 3, what does the master invite the servant into at the end of the verse? He invites him into the joy of the master. What does this signify in the context of the kingdom of heaven? And I just said that when we're faithful with what we have, no matter what that is, how little or how much, God will reward us with joy. And that's not only in heaven, but for eternity, which it is, but it's also for here and now, because, you know, I've lately really noticed how much Jesus calls out in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. That's all he's preaching about, is the kingdom, the kingdom, the kingdom. And the kingdom is here, now, and in heaven. And so when Jesus came, he brought the kingdom down. And, we pray in the Lord's Prayer, kingdom come, it will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And we've kind of got a little taste of heaven, so to speak. So it's not complete, but yet it is here. So joy, that's a fruit of the Spirit too. Joy comes. How do we get joy? Sometimes, I really want joy. I really want peace. I never used to appreciate peace until I got older. I thought, well, peace was kind of boring. But then the older I get, the more I want peace and joy. And so, we're wondering, like, how do we get joy? How do we get joy? Well, joy comes with obedience. That's pretty easy. So if you just stop and think, what is God calling me to do? What is he telling me to do? And do it, he promises that joy will come. So that's what I got out of my verse for today. And so now I'm going to transition over, and I'll do the more expected video where you see my hands working, and we're going to work through this project. Okay, here we go. I'm going to show you how I'm going to make this. So I've got out my Caran d'Ache, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, the Neo Color 2 water-soluble crayons, and I've got my Koi watercolors in case I need them, and then just a couple of brushes and a bowl of water. So what I'm going to do is paint some little flowers, some messy little flowers. So I'm going to get this watercolor pad out and find a page that I haven't sealed, and just start doing some flower shapes. And I'm just going to put some different shades of purple on here, because this is water soluble, so when I hit it with the brush, it should melt and turn into your typical watercolor. And I'm going to cut these out, so if I don't like the shape of my drawing, I can change it with scissors. And so I'm kind of making it messy because that gives me a little bit more room to cut. I think that's all I'm going to do on that, because I'm also going to do some on this sheet of hem paper. So I love to have more than one color. I'm going to do watercolor, right? So let's see. There's certain combinations. I'm sure you have your favorites too. I like purple and blue together. All right, so let's hit it with some water, see what happens. And like I said, I'm going to change it when I cut it out, so I'm going to let it go outside the lines, so pretty far. Gives me room when I cut. All right, so I'm going to let those dry, and then I'm going to take some, and you could use tissue paper, you can use vellum. I'm going to use vellum. I think I'll do some of both, because that way we'll see what happens. Now this is tissue paper from a pattern, so it's let's see if I can get it to work. It's more delicate, so obviously, and I really just want small. It's also kind of cream colored, so I'm not sure that purple's going to look that great on it, but we'll see. I'm making smaller little flower shapes. And I know this is going to, when I put water on, it's going to be very delicate, but let's see what happens. Because this is transparent, and that's going to be cool if we can get it to work, right? Okay, let's see how that works. And then I'm going to do vellum, which is sturdier, and it's a little more, you can depend on it a little bit better. I'm doing just these small little, because these are going to be the centers. I've got, in case you're wondering, this, yes, I am messy, and this looks messy, but what I do is I have a baking tray that I work on with plastic, and then I put a piece of canvas down, and that way it catches any paint, sprays, anything, and I end up with a really, really great and interesting piece of fabric to use with my journal. So that's why that's there, and why it looks ugly, because eventually it won't look ugly, hopefully. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and let these colors mix, because I like those together. Okay, so I'm going to let those dry. These look like they're dry. So, okay, so I'm going to take this sheet. These are heavy. This is heavy watercolor paper. So I'm going to tear this out. And then I'm going to take a pair of scissors. And I'm just going to cut out some flower shapes. And I'm not going to get too worried about what they look like. I'm going to cut them apart just because if I get carried away, I don't want to ruin another flower that's right next to it. So this gives me parameters. So I'm just going to kind of cut around. Loosely. I'm getting some of that washy part out on the outside of it, obviously. This one I'm just going to make up because I got carried away with the shape, so I'm just going to make one up here. And then I'll do these. like these have dried. Boy, I really don't know about this tissue paper, but whoa. Well, we'll try. Might be able to crinkle it up a little bit. I don't know. So we'll see. So to be honest with you, I have not ever used tissue paper. I just assumed it would work, but I'm not sure. It's harder to work with, but if everybody, I was thinking not everybody has vellum, so if you don't have vellum, you could use tissue paper. I think regular tissue paper like you wrap gifts with might be sturdier. It's kind of usually got a coating on it, and I think that might actually work, but this is a little delicate, so we'll see. But this vellum is definitely going to hold up because I have done that one before, so. Okay, so now we've got our flowers cut out, and so in my journal, in this journal, let's see, it's let's see, like 8 by 10. What I did is I had a piece of scrapbook paper that had flowers on it, and I had glued brown craft paper on the back of it a while back. So when I was looking through my papers, because I wanted a piece of plain paper because I'm going to write on it, and I want it to show. So I wanted that to be the top, and then when we open it up, it'll show the flowers. I'm just going to attach that. And all I did was take this and turn it over on here, trace around it, and cut it out so it's the same size. So now I'm going to take some washi tape and attach it, one of my favorite Tim Holtz tapes. I'm just going to cut a piece of this. It's fabric tape. So I'm just going to line this up here with the top. I want it to close exactly on top. So I think what I'll do is stick my tape down first, and then fold it back. We'll see if this works. And then I can line this up down at the bottom. That way I know it's gonna be pretty straight. We'll see. Okay. I'm going to use Distress ink on the edges. Why not, right? And I do like Distress ink, so I'm not shy with it by any means. And got this, it's not dried up. It's a gold marker by Pilot, so we'll see. Shake it up, see if it works. Kind of, sort of. Oh, it's one of those kind where you push down and the ink comes out. Oh, this could take a while. Okay, so as long as it reads as a key, people will get the idea. I'm looking at these liquid pearls. That would probably work too. Maybe I'll try that. I've had this for like 3 years, and apparently there's a shelf life to it that I've gone beyond. But I'm going to keep trying. Let me see. This will give it at least a 3D effect, right? Okay, so on here, I'm going to write, "With obedience comes joy," and then I'll put the scripture reference. So I'm going to go, and I'm just going to use some faux calligraphy with, and I'll put a little keyhole down here, and then I'm going to use this pen. It's a Mr. Pen. And I'm not going to do joy because it says joy inside. So I'll do dot, dot, dot. And then with the faux calligraphy, what you do is on the downstrokes, you make them thicker. So you just draw a thicker part like that. And you can put it on whichever side of the line you need it to go to even things out. So on this T, I'll go on the outside, and the H, I'll go on the outside. And as you can see, I just correct what I didn't get quite right. So I'll go on the outside, and then you go back and fill that in. And since I have that loop there, I'm going to fix it. And I didn't get a good loop there, so I'm going to make a loop and then fix it that way. Put my eye here. Downstroke, square off the bottom on the kind like that. Put that thicker part there, and I'm going to kind of put a little bit there too. And then the E and the C, and I might just do that and fix that O, make it a little nicer. Make those squared off at the bottom and round that off. Oops. So now I'm going to go back and just fill that in. Take a gum eraser, and you can get these at Walmart or wherever, and you just stretch them and stretch them, and then you can, when you get them nice and soft, you can just go over and it doesn't leave any crumbs. Get rid of all the pencil lines like that. I'll take Joy off since I didn't do Joy. Oh, and I got to do my little keyhole. That pen is really nice. It's Mr. Pen. I was looking online for a good lettering pen that wouldn't bleed through, and they said that theirs would work, and they have all kinds of guarantees and so on and so forth. So I thought, okay, well, I'll give it a try. And so far, they're really nice. And I'm going to leave that not quite solid. And this is probably going to take a while to dry, but I'm going to go ahead and cut it out just for the sake of continuing on. And of course you can make, you know, whatever key shape you want to make. I shouldn't have probably made this one because I'm going to have to cut those centers out. That's not going to be fun. But okay. All right. And I can go ahead and glue that on. I'm going to use PVA glue. And got a little bit of extra glue there. For the mechanical word inside that pops up, I'm going to use this piece of cardstock. It is 7 by 8.5, but you can adjust it to whatever size your journal is. I want it to say joy, so I'm going to make it long and skinny. And you want quite a bit of paper that you can attach top and bottom if you're going to cut the letters out. So I'm going to, let's see, I'm just going to kind of do some very loose letters. I'll have to go to the bottom. And I think that will read as joy. So I'm going to go ahead and paint that with some watercolor paint, just because that way it'll go with everything else we have going on. And I don't like those colors. Or do I? Maybe I do. I want something really bright and vibrant, and this purple might work. Okay, I've got Joy painted, and I'm going to let that dry. Okay, while that's drying, I am going to do the next step. Now, you don't have to do this. I want to present several options. If you want to do this, you can. It adds a little bit of detail to it. You stitch your centers onto your other piece of flower. Now, if you don't want to do that, you could easily just draw centers on. So that would be absolutely fine. But I just thought for the sake of demonstration, I would do these this way so you can see what it looks like. I might do a couple where I draw the centers. So these come as 6 threads, strands. So I'm going to pull 3, and then, oops, let's see. So I'm just going to take some of these flowers and these centers and begin to put them together. So I'm going to overlap that. So I'm just going to poke it through. Just kind of do like a star shape in the center, just to kind of hold things in place. So, oops. Like that, just a little starburst kind of thing. So I'm gonna do that to a few of these, and then I'll be back. Okay, I am back. I've stitched all of these. I used yellow, purple, and pink, and I took my Fabri-Tac because some of them were curled up pretty bad, and most of them flattened out after I stitched them, but if it sticks up like that, you can just take a little bit of Fabri-Tac and stick it down. I kind of like to leave them because it adds texture for them to stick up a little bit, so I didn't want them to be completely flat, but sometimes you got to do that. So here's the flowers I've got. These were leftovers, and I'm looking at these tissue paper ones that I've got, and I don't know if I want to use those. It does add another layer, so I think what I'll do, I think I'm going to maybe just kind of crinkle them a little bit and use my PVA glue just to add texture so they stick up. So put a little bit of glue there, just kind of crink them a little bit and stick that on there like that. Kind of reminds me if you've ever done floats and you take tissue paper and a pencil, you know, and you go like that. I wonder if that would work. Let me try it. it's going to flatten out when you shut the flap, but we'll see. It sticks up a little bit, adds just a little bit of something to it maybe. And was that it? I guess I stitched the rest, so there's just a couple of those. And I think I will take, let's see, do I have a color marker? Let me find a marker here real quick. Here's a Posca pen. Let me see if I can get that to work. Ooh, haven't even used that one. Okay, that's probably not going to show. Let me see. Oh, kinda. Okay. I mean, all right, that'll do. Okay, so Posca pen. Add that to the list of art supplies we've used today. Okay, and now I'm gonna cut my joy out. Okay. All right, so we're going to take our page and we're going to attach the joy to it. And this keeps kind of wiggling back and forth, and so I'm going to take another piece of washi tape just to anchor it in a little bit more. And do that just to stabilize it. Okay, so now we're going to take the joy and we're going to score it in the middle. And this was 8.5, so we want to score it 4 4/4 inches. So I'm going to put these flat pieces I have here and go to 4 1/4. And probably would have been easier if I had scored it before I cut it out, but that's all right. And then I'm going to fold it. You can see where I practiced drawing joy on the back side. Okay, we've got our joy. We're going to put it in here to pop up. We want it to be about there, and then when it opens, it's going to hopefully pop up like that. And so I'm going to take a piece of cardstock, and I'm going to use my scoring board. And this piece is about 1 3/4 inches, and I'm going to score it. It doesn't have to be dead center, so I'm just going to eyeball it and do like this one right next to the one, like that. And these are going to be my tabs to glue joy in. Okay, and that should make it a little more stable. So let me use a folding bone because we do want it to be as flat as possible. And so I'm going to glue just a little bit smaller piece than what's, and so I'm going to glue this you want the fold right at the edge. And I'm going to cut a little one for the O, just because that'll add stability. And you want the fold right on the edge on that one. Now I made this a little bit harder for myself because I cut the letters out. If you have a big piece with joy on it, you just cut one big tab on the top and one big tab on the bottom. But that's not what I did for me. So if you do the cutout joy, it's a little bit tougher. But it'll be cute, hopefully. And then I'm going to trim that just a little bit, like that. And then I'm going to do the ones on the bottom. Oops, I didn't cut that. Okay. And I'm going to put that right up there to the fold. And a little one for this one. Right against the fold. And then one more for the bottom of the Y. Like that. Okay, so we want it to go about here. So now I'm gonna put glue on this side of each tab on the bottom. And you want it to be glued pretty well right on the fold for sure. The rest of it is not as important, but you definitely want to get that fold glued. And then I'm gonna glue this like this. And I'm just gonna hold it here for a second. And then we're going to fold this like this and put glue, again, get it right on the fold for sure, and the rest of it's not quite as important, but you want that fold line to be super glued good, glued well. And so you've folded it, and then you're just going to fold this down over it and hold it. And then it should pop up. And it does. Here's my joy. And now I can go in here and arrange my flowers however I want them to be. I may not even need all these flowers, but I'm going to go ahead and start to glue them in. And that one will, if I glue the bottom of it up, that will flip that little piece of the flower up when it opens. Should be okay. Oh, there's a cute little one there. Okay, I'll do that. And I think I'll put the glue on this instead. And I think I'll do this one on the joy. Want to do that? Yeah, I'll put that one there so that the fold doesn't bother it. And maybe that one there. Okay. And then you carefully shut it, and then you can press it down and let it dry. Make sure your glue's not squirting out on the sides and you don't glue it shut. I have a little bit sticking out here, but that's kind of how my journals are. They have things sticking out, so I'm not too worried about that. And so for the camera, so here's how it would look if you're sitting there and then you open it and there's joy. Okay, so with obedience comes joy. And I was going to write the scripture is Matthew 25:21, and I think I'll put it inside actually. Ooh, gotta mess that up. Yeah, well, it is what it is. I made it right till the end. Okay, with obedience comes joy, Matthew 25:21. All right, well, thanks a lot for watching, and I want to thank Debbie and Diane for letting me participate in this, and I hope you enjoyed it. See you on the next video. Bye-bye.